Hey everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of A Plus Wrestling here on A Plus Productions. What a week it has been, and we're going to be discussing all the things that happened throughout the week, what we like, what we didn't like, but we're going to be really focusing on NXT Deadline as we give a review. We're your hosts, I'm Boris, and as always, I'm joined by Matt.
Bonjour! How's everybody doing out there? We hope you're doing well. We hope you're not buried in snow. Got a little dusting here in Toronto, Boris. A little sprinkle, but it seems to mostly be gone now. How are you holding up, big homie? How's the wheel?
It's holding up. It's holding up. A little bit of pain this weekend, but otherwise really doing well. Major checkup this week that's coming up, and hopefully, fingers crossed, I can start putting some weight on the ankle.
Yeah, and did you find out for sure if you need another surgery yet, or is that going to be established in this next?
It's going to be established in this this checkup, but it looks like I'm going to be in the clear. They're just going to let the nerves do their thing. Basically, you recover an inch of nerves every month, right? So it's going to take time regardless. Okay. But we'll see. We'll see what's going on. Anything fun and exciting happening with you, my friend?
Same old, really. Gearing up for Christmas time, trying to make some purchases for, the loved ones in my life, and also myself. I think I might grab myself a new guitar, Boris. I don't currently have a guitar in Toronto. Like to strum some beats every now and then. You know how it is. I'm a campfire rock star.
Yep. I hear you, man. Yeah. It's December's always a very busy month, but yeah, we'll see what happens. But yes, as always a fun time to chat some wrestling. Before we get to NXT, Matt, what did you? It's been a busy week, man. Every week, I know we say this every week, but like, there's just so much going on right now in the world of wrestling.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it definitely is. It's an oversaturated market, but it's a good problem to have. As wrestling fans, we are blessed with a lot of great content every week. I thought Raw this week was actually amazing. Aguinaldo, our boy Joe, posted this, but on other places around the internet, he'd seen some people say it was one of the best episodes of Raw ever. And when I first read that, I was like, what, really? But then I thought about it, and it was pretty damn good, man. It might be on like a long list, like a top 50 Raws ever. Like Raw is finally, for the first time in years and years, possibly the best wrestling show week to week again.
It has been for a while, right? I think, especially over the past year, I think Raw has been very, very, very strong. But funny enough, ever since it went to 2 hours, they have been pretty good for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, that's to be expected, not surprising at all, which is why it kind of hurts to hear that Raw and SmackDown, apparently, in the Netflix era, are both going to be 3 hours. That's the latest rumor. It is now just a rumor, not confirmed. That sucks. Wrestling shows shouldn't be longer than 2 hours. Honestly, like 90 minutes is kind of the sweet spot, I feel like, but 2 hours is doable. Any longer than that, it better be a pay-per-view. A weekly show should not be 3 hours.
Exactly. That's kind of how I feel. But yeah, it's weird. But notice that they haven't made anything official. So you know that there are a lot of conversations happening right now in terms of that. Something else that interesting about the whole Netflix deal is that, especially for Raw, I guess SmackDown for us here, regardless of where it's taking place, it's going to be live. So when they're in Europe next March on the road to WrestleMania, the 3 p.m. start time, the 2:30 start time, or whatever they're going to be, it's going to be live on Netflix.
That's interesting, and I think it's kind of cool. It's like a UFC show. It kind of gives it more credibility in a way. It feels like an event that you must catch in real time, and you now have the opportunity to. I actually think that's interesting, and it's a welcome change.
Yeah, I like it. I like that, right? If you have the means, why not, right? And there's no cable broadcasting. They don't have to, go tape to air and stuff. So it's. I like that. I really do like that. I think it's going to add some, like you say, add some specialty towards those international shows, especially. And again, the whole plan is they're going to go live, and it's going to be available on demand essentially as soon as the show ends. So you can watch it at 8 p.m. or whatever time you really feel like it. But it is going to air live, regardless of where they are in the world.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And like you said, if you are a big stickler, then you can just air it in your regular time slot when you hit play on the video. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, so tons going on over the next, man. It's under a month now. It's officially under a month before WWE is on Netflix.
Yeah, January 6th, right? So it's coming very, very soon. Um, yeah, and it's going to be a big time for wrestling. They're gearing up to, get their most viewers that they've ever had potentially on the product, gearing into to Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. You got the John Cena thing happening. The Rock potentially coming back for another cup of coffee. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool times for WWE. I would say this is the most buzz they've had since the Attitude Era, safely.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And we're just getting started, man, because 2025 looks to be, especially the beginning half, the road to WrestleMania and WrestleMania itself looks to be incredibly busy. Like there's a lot going on, a lot of eyes, tons of attention, really good stuff happening with WWE. But it's not just WWE, kind of, gotta flip the page a little to AEW. They're starting to now advertise the simulcast of TBS and Max for Dynamite starting in January.
Yeah, very interesting. It kind of feels like a move where they have to throw something out there to just stay relevant. Like WWE's talking about Netflix. We have a streaming deal too, guys. I don't know. We did a whole show on AEW. We love AEW. It's kind of in a weird spot, but they're still doing great things. Like last night on Collision, apparently Fletcher and Okada had an awesome match. Briscoe and Garcia had a really good match. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure both of those are great. Like AEW is still very, very good as well. Wrestling business is in a healthy spot. And we could be booming, man. We got stuff on Netflix, stuff on Max. Do you think the Max thing obviously is less impactful because there are far less users on Max than there are on Netflix, but it's still a big deal, right?
I think it is. Again, it opens up the door for potential new viewers, right? And here's the thing, and I think that AEW again needs to be laser focused on things because they have this opportunity to get those new viewers.
Yes, 100%, buddy. And I think it's starting to happen. I wonder if AEW stuff is going to be kept to TSN Plus because TSN and Crave and Bell kind of have the whole HBO thing on lockdown in Canada. So I wonder if we'll start to see some AEW pay-per-views and shows on Crave TV in Canada, which is the worst streaming app on the planet. Oh my God, it is terrible. It is clunky. It crashes all the time. The interface sucks, but it is our response to HBO Max in this country.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the plan is here, right? Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that for sure. If we hear anything, we'll talk about it. But yeah, it's interesting times for AEW Continental Classic. How are you feeling with it this year?
I think Okada starting 0-1-1 is possible mistake. Spoilers, he lost that great match to Kyle Fletcher last night. I don't really understand that. I do think he'll still win it. That's twice in a row now they did this story because Eddie Kingston the same exact last year. So I don't know. I think we're blessed to have it. It's still cool. I still like it, but I like everything with AEW. You just kind of like, why are they doing it this way? Like you just kind of question the booking a little bit, but it's still dope and it's still the Continental Classic. It's that Shelton Benjamin had a great match with Kyle Fletcher. Like Darby Allin is gonna wrestle fucking Ricochet and Osprey coming up pretty soon. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, my one thing is that because it's for a B-level championship, it really makes this a mid-card tournament, and I think that hurts it just a little bit. Yes, the wrestling is good, can't deny that, but the relevancy of it, I find that it's just not there right now.
I know exactly what you mean. I agree to that. It feels less special than it did last year. It does feel more of like a mid-card tournament. That's for sure. That's correct.
Yeah, it's just a weird one. Let's take it to Facebook. Here on the Facebook group, just search for A Plus Productions. That's where you can find all things for this show and so much more. Every week we try to get some feedback in. How about we turn to that and read some feedback, Matt?
Let's do it, buddy. I'm excited.
All right, Paul York. He says, what a coming out party for Tavion Heights. His team may have lost the match, but man, what a star he is.
Yes, this is referring to the tag team title match NXT deadline last night, which we are going to quickly review at the end of this podcast. I totally agree. He was shot out of a fucking cannon in that match. As soon as he leapt out of the curtain, like literally jumping out of his own skin, so excited to be on pay-per-view, a premium live event. Yeah, Tavion Heights looked great. This was a big show for a lot of the young performers on NXT.
Yep, and we're gonna talk about that in a little bit because it was a show to say the least. All right, Blaine. He says, I'm generally not a fan of people coming into a company and getting an automatic title shot without doing anything, unless that person is a major draw, which Matt Cardona is not. That said, being in New York, I can understand why they're doing it. I just wish they had hyped it all up. They hyped it up a lot more before his actual debut, with Jericho maybe running down the whole state for the next few weeks until they have the hometown hero come in to defend it. It just felt very random. Put a pin on that before we continue. Thoughts on that?
Okay, that makes total sense. I agree with him, but this is referring to Matt Cardona coming in to challenge Chris Jericho for the Ring of Honor World Title at Final Battle. Now, the Ring of Honor World Title, I'm okay. Star just walking in the door and challenging for that. That's kind of why Ring of Honor still exists, if for any reason than to actually use these indie guys. So I don't know. I don't mind it for this particular title. If Matt Cardona walked in, God bless him. I think we both really like Matt Cardona a lot. But if he walked in and challenged Jon Moxley right away, that might be a problem. Chris Jericho, I'm okay with it.
Yep. All right, we'll move on. I thought Raw was great this week, and they left us wanting more, which is always a good thing. We don't know what McIntyre's motivation was for taking out Sammy, and we're just assuming that he's also the one to take out Jay. But there's definitely a reason to tune in next week because they left it so open-ended. The Punk and Rollins feud continues to heat up, but I think the brawl would have been taken more seriously had Seth not been wearing that shirt.
Well, that's funny. That's just Seth Rollins, though. I don't think they're going to lose $1 because Seth Rollins wore a wacky shirt. But that's a funny line by Blaine.
Exactly. All right. Over in AEW, the Continental Classic matches have been good, but it feels like they're just trying to keep it competitive instead of having the right people go over. I'm still not sold on Kyle Fletcher or Daniel Garcia as main event level talents. They're good wrestlers, but the same is true for 90% of the roster. Aside from that, there's nothing special about either one of them, and they need to find their quote-unquote thing because people don't pay to see no names wrestle.
I think Blaine is way too harsh on these specific guys. It feels like every week, God bless you, Blaine, you always have something to say about Garcia and Kyle Fletcher. Like, you got to give them a chance. Got to give them a chance to build up and find that thing. I think they're both, especially Kyle Fletcher recently, far more, I don't know, they're not bland, far more interesting than just a basic flippy wrestler. Like Kyle Fletcher has been getting a lot of promo time. I think he's doing pretty well. And Daniel Garcia has his whole like from the streets persona. I like them both. Perhaps they're not John Cena level stars in their future, but they can definitely be upper mid card to main event talents in wrestling, I think.
Yep. Yeah,
what do you think?
I kind of feel the same way overall, right? But I think his major thing, and I think he just picks those two constantly. But I think the thing, I'm not trying to put words in anyone's mouth, but I just some feedback from him and others is that it just seems like there's a lot of cookie cutters in AEW and just in wrestling in general, right? Like there aren't many standout people with their own characters and things like that, right?
That's for sure true. But this is why, like, I think these two wrestlers specifically know that and are trying to find that character. I think Daniel Garcia's got the character already. I like his promos. I like his character work. Kyle Fletcher's finding it, but he's getting a lot of time to find it with Don Callis by his side every single week. So it's just, they're trying, they're getting there. But you're completely right about that. And yeah, that assessment is definitely true. That's why a Tony Storm or a Mariah May stand out so fucking much when they come along.
Yep, let's continue with it. He's also finished this off by saying, I am scratching my head over however they landed on the four-way for World's End. Hangman lost back-to-back matches, and Orange Cassidy lost his shot at the last event. So let's reward them both with the title shot. That makes sense, right? A great hype package for Mariah versus Mina on Collision this week. But why is this match not on pay-per-view? People won't pay for something that they can get for free.
Yeah, well, I guess that's true, but I don't know. I think you gotta save some matches for television. More people will see it this way, and maybe they have something else penciled in for Mariah May, or maybe she's taking time off. You don't know, like maybe she's not going to be available to the company, or perhaps Mina won't be available to the company on World's End. One thing that bugs me that I do agree with Blaine about is that wins and losses seem to not matter much anymore in AEW, and that example that Blaine provided there is a good shout of it. Like they just kind of shoehorn people in, and this company that prided themselves on wins and losses so much at the start, where they had rankings and everything, kind of just are booking a little Vince McMahonish these days, aren't they, Boris?
Yeah, honestly, I think a lot of right now, especially, they're being very reactive to things. They're just not letting things happen the way organically the way they used to, and I think that's becoming very, very, very obvious. And to me, the biggest example of that is this whole elite takeover. And then once the Death Riders show up, the elite fuck off, right? And then even Jack Perry, he's been off TV for a little bit, and it's just like, okay, like, we're just switching gears. Like, they're just not letting things pan out.
Yeah, exactly right. The elite takeover leading immediately into the Death Riot. That really hurt this angle. The fact that they just did the angle 6 months before, and we saw it fizzle out and mean nothing, and they just picked it up with different dudes again. Obviously, fans are going to be a little trepidatious, a little scared to get into it, because we just watched you fuck this up, dudes,
Yep. All right, Darren Thompson left some feedback as well. NXT Deadline. The women absolutely stole the show. No major botches, and the finish was brilliantly booked. Trick Williams proved once again why he's a champion QB of the company. Finally, either Ridge Holland is an amazing character performer or one of the most unenthusiastic, careless, non-performing athletes on the roster.
Which is a tough beat for Ridge Holland at the end. Not that I disagree or anything. I think our pal Darren is on the money there to some extent. Yeah, man, it was a great show. Great showing by the women too. That was definitely the best match on the show. The women's Iron Survivor. The correct decision by Shawn Michaels to put it in the main event. They all delivered. We'll talk about it at length in a couple minutes.
Yep, exactly. So that is the feedback. Over on the Facebook group, we have chats for the major shows, the weekly TV shows, all PLEs, and it's always a good time if you have the time. If you're watching, just leaving feedback. Sometimes I laugh at the comments. The conversations that happen are always good, and thank you to everyone who does kind of contribute. It's what makes A+.
Yeah, love and appreciate our dedicated fan base, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. Thank you guys for your feedback, and we should do that every Sunday, Boris. We'll try to do that more and more.
Yep, exactly. We're still finding our feet. I'm still up in the air half the time with my ankle stuff, but yeah. As we go into 2025, we're gonna be really focused. We're just gonna be having fun. That's what this is all about. Is just having fun, chatting wrestling with friends. One last thing before we go to NXT Deadline, and it's more of an admin type of thing. The best and the worst of 2024 is there, and you can find the link on the Facebook group, and it is open to everybody.
Ah, man. So yeah, fill out your surveys. We're going to read, obviously, the fan votes, and we got a nice panel. A couple listeners have reached out to me about being on the show, which I'd love to have like some audio feedback if possible. Maybe we can do even some callers at the end. We'll try to figure out some way to get y'all on the show as well.
Exactly. One of the things that I'm kind of toying with, Matt, and I love how I spring this on you like live as we're recording, and it's the concept of, look, you and I typically record at 4:30 every week, right? Every Sunday between the NFL games is kind of our time to hit record, right? One of the things I'm toying with is going live each and every single week. Well, when possible. 90% of the time we'll be able to do that. And then people, if we have a consistent time, people can join in, they can watch live and even participate in the show by doing that live feedback.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. It'd be worth a try anyway. A couple weeks, we can give that a go for sure, man. I'm wildly for it, and I'm glad we discussed this before. JK, but no, that's a good idea, man. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's but we talked about this like even on the other show, right? That was an idea that I was floating with, but things happen. All right, let us jump to NXT Deadline. It was damn, man. This show to me felt like the most takeover show that we've had in years.
For sure. This is from like a smaller Boris, the Armory from Minneapolis. And this was indeed a very good show, very easy. All 5 matches were pretty good. I got the cage match ratings up here, so the nerds on the internet disagree with that assessment on a couple ones. But let's get into it right off the hop. The men's Iron Survivor match, Boris.
Yes, Iron Survivor. Let's talk about Iron Survivor, the concept in general. Over the past few years, you and I have covered every Iron Survivor match. We've seen this from the get-go, and sometimes, like, I always felt like it's tricky to book anytime, and I have this issue with, with any time that you do any of these matches that have a ticker, a clock, you're running down, right? How do you book this match so that you're invested that entire time? And sometimes they do some ridiculous things that just like logically and conceptually don't make fucking sense. But I found that both Iron Survivor matches this year, especially the women's, was so well booked and well done, and you can tell that they've really thought about this.
Yeah, they kind of figured it out. They kind of have solved this puzzle to some extent. And yes, I totally agree. The men's Iron Survivor, the first ever men's Iron Survivor a couple years ago, was really bad for like logic holes, but they've kind of ironed them all out. To use a terrible pun, these Iron Survivor wrinkles have been ironed out, Boris, and now they're logical, entertaining matches that take numerous twists and turns. And I think this is actually like one of the best gimmick matches going now. It's a little convoluted, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with a little convoluted.
I'm okay with a little convoluted for a lot of stuff, especially my dating life. All right, NXT Deadline. So we started with the men's. We started with the men's Iron Survivor match. Wesley versus Javon Evans, Nathan Frazier, Ethan Page, and question mark. Earlier this week, Eddie Thorpe was attacked, and it looks like this is all storyline related. At least that's the hope. And I love the fact that, like, even then, the fact that we even have to wonder if something is a storyline or legit or something else happened, I just love that, right? Because us even being kind of, quote unquote, in the know, being surprised week to week is always a special thing. Obafemi ends up being the last man in this match. His return since losing the North American title, and quite the performance, man. He is going. I thought he was main roster bound. That could easily still be the case, but Obafemi is he's just a, we talk about cookie cutter wrestlers. He ain't no cookie cutter.
No, this guy, a ton of charisma, huge dude. This is a Vince McMahon wet dream of a wrestler. Obafemi is, but he's not just some big stiff.
Yep.
Pretty good wrestler. The best kept secret in wrestling, this guy.
Absolutely. And he's like 23 or something. It's ridiculous how young he is. It's ridiculous how young a lot of the NXT roster is right now. Like, we are going to be enjoying these people in their prime and then some. Some of them haven't even hit their prime yet, which is amazing. So this match comes down to the wire. Obafemi hits a double chokeslam on Lee and Frazier, and he gets 2 right there at 24:58 to get the win as the clock runs down to 25 minutes. Matt, what you think of the end? What do you think of Obafemi getting the number 1 contender spot?
I think it's the right decision. I think he should beat Trick Williams and win the title as Trick has been. I think it's time for Trick to move on, to mosey on from NXT, and Obafemi is a great choice to hold that title, which was very good. Currently sitting at a 7.52 on Cage Match in the green. It is. Agree with that, about like 3.5-ish stars, like a very good wrestling match. Ethan Page is such a hilarious dirtbag shithead heel, just one of the best cocksuckers in wrestling today. Ethan Page, you just love to hate that guy.
Absolutely, and I love that. Like he's doing a great job at NXT. So that's what happened there. Then we get Alexis King promo where essentially he says he's out to prove everyone that he will succeed beyond what his father did. Yeah, it's one of those typical "I'm finding myself" promos. What you think of this?
Yeah, it was fine. Lexus King it's just so funny. He is a drag queen name with a drag queen beard, but by God, we love him, Lexus King.
Yep. Lola Vice versus Jada Parker, NXT Underground match. Man, Jada Parker and even Lola Vice, but Jada Parker especially, she is going to shine when she gets the call up.
Guaranteed, yeah, man. She is a star. She is already a star, but she's going to be a huge star on the big stage. One of the best talkers, promos, male or female, in the entire company is Jada Parker already. Arguably the best talker in NXT, including all the veterans, including Shawn Michaels. Jada is a great promo. I felt like this match went a little long. I would like these UFC style NXT underground matches, these blood sport matches, this shoot style thing, always err on the side of brevity. I want this to feel like a UFC fight, in and out in 4 or 5 minutes, make it action packed like a Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg match, but in a UFC kind of environment. Make it a shorter fight. Cage Match rated this one pretty poorly. Surprisingly, only a 5.71 on Cage Match. I think it was better than that. It was good, but it felt a little too long to me.
Yep. Slam Wrestling, John Powell from Slam Wrestling rated this one a 7.5 out of 10. So you can, it's just very suggestive. I like this match overall. I really, really, really did. I agree 100% wholeheartedly with you. They should be shorter, should feel like a real fight. If it is a shoot fight, they shouldn't be long. It should feel more, these matches should have that blood sport feeling.
1,000%. Not just the promotion, not just the Josh Barnett ran wrestling promotion, but the movie. Yes. With Jean-Claude Van Damme. They absolutely should.
Yep. So Vice hits Parker with a backhand. She was kind of selling that fist the entire match, so she hits her with it, and then she locks it in Anaconda Vice like submission, and the ref calls the match as Parker is KO'd. Really like the ending. Doesn't hurt anyone. No one is buried. Stop that talk, people. But Lola Vice ends up winning her casket match. I think it was you that said that at some point. And it was great.
Yeah, exactly. If Lola Vice is the Undertaker, this is her casket match. This is her specialty match. She lost to Jada Parker already in a weapons-based match, so it would make sense that they take the weapons away. They do a fight, their version of an MMA fight. Obviously, the MMA fighter is going to win. This did not hurt Jada Parker one iota. Did not hurt her at all. I thought this was a good match. I liked it quite a bit. The right gal won, and I think they should just kind of move on from this feud. Like, keep them enemies, but maybe revisit on the main roster,
Yep. Next match is for the NXT Tag Team Championships, and it's Nathan Frazier and Axiom versus No Quarter Catch Cruz, Miles Bourne, and Tavian Heights. Do you think they're dragging this whole Nathan Frazier Axiom thing out? Like, what do you think? Are we going to get the eventual heel turn of someone? Like, where do you think they're going with this?
Yeah, I do think eventually we will get a Nathan Frazier heel turn. Dragging it out, no, because it's still entertaining. They're still doing good work. I still care about this story, so you couldn't call it dragging them out. The biggest problem with some stories in wrestling, and it's not just AEW, but AEW is bad for it, but a lot of wrestling stories just are prolonged for the sake of it. They just keep doing things to I don't know, get more money out of you. You know, they keep stringing it along just for something to do, just to prolong the story. But this does not feel like that. This is entertaining, and I'm understanding the twists and turns that it's taking. I don't want them to break up yet. I want this to keep going for now. And this was by this tag team. Part of the reason why I hope they don't pay it off is because I want the tag team to stick together.
They're a fun team, man, honestly. Axiom is doing such a good job in this character. I think he's really found this character. I kind of like this whole, luchador who talks and actually has a character, which is very, very rare to find.
Yeah. The intellectual wearing luchador is a pretty cool. It's a pretty cool twist on the luchador gimmick. Nathan Frazier is like the cocky, young, brash upstart. They're a good mix for sure. And yeah, as our friend Paul York said in the feedback session, Tavion Heights, a breakout performance. He was shot out of a cannon in this match. He was just jumping out of his fucking boots the entire time. I would still say Axiom was the MVP in the ring. He held this thing together and was so great as per usual. But a star-making performance for Tavion Heights, put himself on the map. Miles Bourne was also there.
Yes. So Axiom hits a Canadian destroyer and pins Bourne with a roll-up. So your winners and still NXT Tag Team Champions Nathan Frazier and Axiom. You know what the funny part is, and I think this is kind of one of the something that I like about this whole Nathan Frazier Axiom thing is that any pay-per-view at PLE, whatever you want to call them, you think they're going to lose. You think it's the eventual breakup that's going to happen. I honestly think it's going to be a random team on a random TV episode where all of this actually goes down.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. It would be a good idea for maybe, one of the first episodes on Netflix. The first one on Netflix is going to be New Year's Evil, where they already have a lot of stuff planned for that show. Maybe the second episode on Netflix, they pull the trigger in this. Part of me wonders, too, if it will be Axiom who does go heel. I just worry that he's finally found this character as a babyface, like the hardworking, intellectual, upstart young man who just happens to be in a luchador mask. It's a pretty good gimmick for him. I wonder if that would translate to him being a heel as well and as easily as Nathan Frazier's character obviously will.
Or they just drop the Axiom character and let him go as a kid, right? Unmask him as a heel. But the problem is, he's too good looking of a guy to be a heel, I think.
It's a good show. That's true. They would almost have to go full Rick the Model Martel, which is funny because we've said before that A-Kid reminds us of Rick Martel, specifically like fiery babyface Rick Martel in Strikeforce and the AWA. That's the kind of wrestler A-Kid is. If they turned him heel, he might have to be the Model Kid, Boris.
Oh, my God. All right. NXT Championship match. Trick Williams versus Ridge Holland. This match I found good enough. Nothing special, quote, like really. It didn't rock my boat or anything. I didn't need a smoke after this match, but it was a good match nonetheless. Williams dodges Holland. Holland hits the steel post. Trick hits the trick kick and Trick shot for the 1, 2, 3. Trick Williams still your NXT champion.
Yeah, so the NXT Tag Team title match we just talked about, 8.14 on Cage Match. That's and I would agree, that was a great tag team match. This match, Boris, got a 4.63, but not even half. That's a fail. I think this match was a small miracle. Look at those teams. It's still very green. He's not the best in-ring wrestler. He's an incredible character. He's in there with one of the worst guys in the company, Ridge Holland. And this was a pretty good match. All things considered, I think this was a small miracle. I'll never go back and watch it again. Not going to be bouncing my grandkids on my knee talking about the day that Trick Williams pinned Ridge Holland. But I did think it was a good wrestling match. I'm surprised by the low rating on K.net.
Yep. Again, it's wrestling nerds doing what wrestling nerds do, right? And I think that there's this immediate hate when it comes to Ridge Holland, right? Especially with the Big E stuff. But it is what it is at the end of the day. And I do apologize for any audio issues that are happening. It seems the Sunday internet trolls are out and it's breaking up here and there. So I do apologize for that. Let us move on as we get time for the main event Iron Survivor Challenge women's match. Sol Ruka versus Stephanie Vaquer versus Zarya versus Julia versus Ren Sinclair. I love this match so fucking much.
This was extremely well done. All 5 performers looked great. The booking was intelligent in a number of ways. Ren Sinclair was basically in there to be fodder. She was chum for these Sharks. She lost a lot in this match, but it was a good accounting of herself in the ring. She did get a point. She did finish point in this match. The final score was Julia 2, Sol Ruka, Stephanie Vaquer, Ren Sinclair, and Zarya all with 1 fall. Julia won and will be challenging Roxanne Perez at New Year's Evil. I thought this match was laid out well. All 5 performers did a great job. Cage Match put it at 8.60 out of 10 at this moment. And I think it's around that. Like this is the best Iron Survivor match to date. It was the best match of Sol Ruka's career to date, probably Ren Sinclair's career to date. It's on the short list for Stephanie Vaquer and Zarya, I'm sure. Julia's had some amazing matches. I don't know if it would crack her top 10, but this was a fucking great match. Expertly laid out by Shawn Michaels and extremely well done by all 5 performers.
Yeah. Perfectly said, Matt. Honestly, this match was so well done. Julia, the NXT women's division, like it is, and this match proved that it is the best women's division in all of wrestling. Like it is so good. It's so much talent. If we can translate this into the main roster, watch the fuck out.
Absolutely, buddy. It's because they've had such an influx of talent recently, like you said, like getting Julia and Stephanie Vaquer and out of thin air to join these wrestlers who they've been building up for so long. It's just really pushed it over the top. It is definitely the best division in the biz right now. This is, and this match showcased it off very well. I love nothing much more to say except you must go watch this match. If you have to watch one thing from NXT Deadline 2024, or if you want to familiarize yourself with this new match type, the Iron Survivor Challenge, this is the one to watch. This is the best one. Great stuff. Worthy main event of NXT Deadline.
Absolutely perfectly said. And that was NXT Deadline, the last PLE on the network, at least here in Canada, as we move things over to Netflix. Going to be a hell of a time. And it was a really fun show. I really did like this show. How would you rate the show, Matt?
Yeah, like a solid 7.5, 8 out of 10, easy. I such a fun watch. I was cranking a couple beers, hanging out with some pals, watching it. I watched it again this morning just to refamiliarize myself. Really with the main event again. I really wanted to watch that match again, and it did not disappoint the second time through. NXT's in a great spot right now, and this was a good showcase of the talented youth of WWE, man. It's a good time to be a wrestling fan, homie.
Absolutely. And that is that. I think this is a good place to call it a show. As always, Matt, it's always a pleasure chatting some wrestling with you. And to the listeners, thank you for your feedback. Thank you for everything. Whether this is the first episode or the 100th episode that you're listening to, we thank you so much. It really does mean a lot. And you can find A Plus Productions and everything to do with A Plus Productions over on Facebook, where we chat, where we have fun, where we give thought pieces and so much more. That's over on the Facebook group. Just search for A Plus Productions. Do your thing. You can find this show, A Plus Wrestling, everything A Plus Sports, and everything A Plus Entertainment. All you got to do is search for that on your favorite podcasting app and subscribe to whatever feed you want. Next week, we're going to be chatting some Saturday night's main event, and we're going to be having Dax back on the show. He's going to help us review Saturday night's main event. And if you guys ever want to, guys and gals ever want to join us, let us know. We're more than happy to have anyone join us. Like I said, this is just a bunch of wrestling nerds chatting wrestling.
Yeah, just trying to have some fun, talk some wrestling, and perhaps grow this A Plus brand in 2025. Some nice to see talking to our pal Braden on the Poison Rana show. Boris might be doing some more stuff with them coming up next year. Yeah, life is good, wrestling is good. Stay warm, stay safe out there. Thank you all for listening and paying attention. and starting attention to Obafemi. That man is going to take over the professional wrestling industry quite soon. Quite soon.
Very soon. Sooner rather than later. It's interesting, though, that Obafemi and Trick Williams will be facing each other again. We'll see who ends up on the main roster come Netflix time. On behalf of Matt, on behalf of myself, and everyone else, thank you so much for listening. We're going to catch you next week here on A Plus Wrestling. But most importantly, stay tranquilo.